Welcome on today's webinar presented by Newired. We'll speak about our brand new release 22.2, and my name is Jiří Valek. I'm the VP of Product Management. I want to speak today about what's new and noteworthy in this release. I'll not be staying in the slides only. I will combine the slides with the live demonstration of these new capabilities. And at the end of this webinar, I hope you will have some questions to answer. So please feel free to ask questions. I will answer them at the end of the webinar. Before we actually dive deep into, let's see, what we delivered in the last release, let me just recap what's our mission. So as you can read here, our mission is to close or at least reduce the gap between technology, between the complex software applications, between the digital world and us, the people that are using these software applications. And that's what we have been doing since 2016 when we established our company. And what and how we invest into our technology, we invest into three main categories. To innovate our product, to improve it, and to maintain. By innovation, we really mean to expand the capabilities towards the vision, but we also improve existing capabilities by fixing the issues, by improving existing features, mostly by actually also listening to our customers. So I hope that what you will hear today is also corresponding to what you were reporting to us over last months. And also, I mean, we focus on usability and user experience improvements. And in the same time, we also need to maintain the current architecture with the security updates. We need to align our solution to the latest changes in the operating system or latest browsers. And we also have our internal pipeline to accelerate the actual delivery. This all is combined into the release plan for the next major release. The next major release is planned always for the beginning of the year. So the next major release is in January 2023. But as we complete the projects from our major release plan, we don't wait till the end of the year. Once the feature or capability is completed, we release it immediately, and we don't wait for the end of the year. So that's why what I'm presenting today are the new capabilities that were launched in July a couple of weeks ago. And these are the, let's say, this is the second round of the improvements towards our main goal that will be released in January 2023. This is called agile approach, that we don't really wait, but we really launch the features immediately when they are fully completed, which means tested, documented, etc. So now when you understand how we work, we can dive deep into the actual capabilities. And the first one I want to speak about is the journey slideshow. You know, the bread and butter of our solution is built around the so-called journeys. The journeys are the step-by-step instructions or guides that really help people to finish with some standard operating procedure. Many of our customers are actually saying that this is really helpful, not only for, let's say, newbies, but also if you have a complex procedure, it helps the existing, more mature users. But what we have, let's say, learned from the existing users is this common scenario. What if I assume I remember how to do something, but in the middle of the process, I realize that I just need a small hint how to proceed, just because I get lost or I forgot how to go from one step to the other. Now, the problem with the journeys is that if you start a journey, you always start from the beginning because it's sequential guidance. And you don't want to start from the beginning. You want just to remind yourself on how to proceed. And exactly for that use case, we enabled so-called slideshow. And that's what I want to show you now. So I go from the slides and I open our demo system. So I am on my demo environment and I'm creating an account. Okay, so I already know that I need to click create account. But now let's imagine that I feel lost here. So if I would trigger the how to create an account, I'll get back to the beginning of my process, which I don't want. I just want to be reminded about what's the process about how to create an account look like. And that's why we added this new option here to preview the guides. When I click preview, you see that this kind of a slideshow open. I can actually even open it in a new tab. What it means is that in a new tab, we have launched the so-called slideshow, which I can easily just preview what are the steps independently on actually what I'm doing in my browser. So the journey slideshow gives you ability to preview the content of the slide or of the journey without actually going through the steps. You can even document some additional, let's say, conditions with the so-called nodes and do much more. You will learn that by yourself when you will be using this feature. So once again, this is especially useful when you don't want to be really guided, but when you have more mature users that would need to be reminded about the process. You can run it in the same tab or in a new tab. And some of the existing customers may ask, yeah, but you had a slideshow for a couple of years. Yes, but our slideshow so far was only in the editor. What we were doing now, we were bringing the slideshow to the end users that are actually receiving the guidance directly in a tool. This is a really major step. We run some tests with early adopters, and I must say that I've really collected very positive feedback regarding this new capability. The second quite important enhancement that we built into our solution is definitely motivated by you or by those of you that are on this webinar from the list of our customers, and this is about the back button. So you know that very often as part of the journey you have you go from one step to the other by clicking the so-called next button. And you were asking, if there is a button next, can there be the button back? And we were telling you that it is really tricky to have the back button there because some of the steps cannot be undone. When you save something, when I create a new opportunity, it's not, let's say, you cannot go back and just, let's say, undo this save. Or when you reload some page, you simply reload the page, you cannot get to the data that have been there. On some steps, you may even lose the data if you go back. So we were really saying that, let's see, from the journey perspective, it is not possible to have the back button always available. But we were listening to you and we agreed that even though on some steps it's not possible, there are some other steps where it may work just fine. So that's why we actually enabled optionally the back button. And again, let's just spend a minute to show how it actually works. So the back button is, for example, very useful on the product tours. So imagine that you start with the product tour. It should start automatically. I was probably disconnected from the internet. Yeah. So here you see that I was on the beginning of my journey. I clicked next too fast and I did not read what was on the previous step. So that's why there is this back button here. If I go to the next step, I may get to the other page. So now, if I, for example, go here into the support tab, and from the support tab, I get navigated to the cases, you see that the back button is not here because we cannot undo the reload of the page. But again, for example, here, the back button is available. So what we are actually doing, we give you an opportunity to control when the back button is available and when it will actually break the flow. How we do it? If you open our editor, it's actually pretty straightforward. So if I open our editor and I click here on the edit of the step, here under the settings, you see there is a new setting called enable back button. This controls whether the back button is or is not available. While I have this screen, let's say, visible, you also see that as we were adding more and more settings for a given steps, we also separated the settings area from the content area. So the content is where you can actually fine-tune the content of your bubble. Of course, you can edit it in place, and the settings really consist of all the different settings that are related to the transitions or to the properties, just to make it less crowded, and it gives us opportunity to structure the information better on the screen. So if you go back to the slides, again, we cannot really ensure the back button working for every single transition from one step to the other, but on some steps based on your own decision, it may work just fine, and we see that it could be useful and usable. So that's why we enable you with this optional back button setting. Next one is partially related to it, and it's about automating the navigation from one page to the other. We have already seen it a minute ago in our product tour, and I will recap that again. So what's the scenario behind it? If you have a so-called product tour or a feature tour, you may wish to make it easier for the user to automate the navigation to specific pages where the new features appear. What does it really mean? So if you go back to our system and we start this journey again, this CRM overview, we see that it starts on the home screen. It starts with some introduction. The second, it tells you that here on the sales section, this gives access to accounts and opportunities. And when I click next, the system automatically clicks on this accounts, and it tells me here under the accounts overview, you see the table of all the accounts in the system. I click next, it explains me that here I can have the marketing section, I can have the support section, and watch here. I mean, here you will see the statuses and the support requests open by the customers. And when I click next, I actually we load this table of open cases automatically, so we can explain better and automate where the user actually lands when you click on the next function. So we explain here are the activities, and now the last step says, now let's go back to home. So if you click next, it actually gets us back to the home, and it shows me that on the home page, this is the panel that we want to explain. So how this is being set up, because for the product tour, the goal of the product tour is not to train the people how to do something, but usually the product tours or the features tours just explain what the product or part of the product, component of the product is capable of. So how you do it, for those that are using Newired for a while, this is what the step actions are for. So you remember that the first navigation in our journey happened here when I was pointing to the sales section here, and we click next, it should open the accounts table. So how we do it is that for this step, we actually run a step action that says go to URL. And we see when this step completes, please open this page. This is just a basic navigation, okay? So then we get there, so the system automatically appears or launch the second step. So it opens the accounts table, and then another example was here. When I am pointing to the support cases, the next button should open the cases view, the list of cases. So again here, if I click edit, I see that there is an action called go to URL, and here is the special URL. What is this URL? This is the URL exactly what you type in your browser that opens a specific page. In this case, it opens the list of cases. So it's that easy to actually automate the process of helping users to go from one page to the other. And we did not stop here for this release, actually, because some of you reported us that not everything can be performed by simple URL navigation. And that's why we introduced one additional type of an action, a little bit more complex one, but still valuable for more advanced and mature customers. And this is called Run JavaScript. With Run JavaScript, you can really execute any of the code that shall happen on the screen to go from one step to the other. This is useful for very dynamic applications and for very, let's say, closely integrated applications. So if you want the guides and tutorials to be more tightly integrated with your application, we already provided API that you can call from your application, and now we also provide an option to call the target application API from our journeys. So we now have a bidirectional, let's say, options for a very deep integration. So not just to call our API from your application, but also call your application API from our journeys. Both is available as a step action with the conditions. So of course you can bound or link the conditions with the step actions. The next one is about the journey links. The journey links are a great way how to actually help people to be aware that there is a special new feature, new process. So from already for a couple of years, it was possible to launch a journey from a so-called tip. And now we make this functionality even stronger. How is it actually working? So again, let's start first from the browser interface. So we are here in our CRM system, and we see here that there is a tip. So the tip actually tells you, would you like to check some of the journeys? For many, let's say, years, you are able to just put here a link that starts journey. But when you click here, you see that this journey actually points to this create bubble instantly. But if you remember, when I start a journey from here, how to create a new account, we started with the so-called welcome screen. In this journey, you will learn how to create a new account. But this step is actually redundant if you actually already remind people what they will learn here in the tip. So we want, let's say, a user to go directly to the step 2 when they click here and remind them that they should start and hit this create button. There are many other, let's say, use cases for which this functionality is useful. You know that, I mean, you can just also remind people that you can start something from scratch or go directly to the step 5, or in the middle of the journey, you can conditionally help people to say you can go directly to the step 10 if you know how to do it. So the journey links now will help you to not just launch a specific journey, but actually to create a link that starts a journey from any particular step. Again, it's fairly simple to set up such journey links with our technology. So let me go and I go back to the editor, and I will show you how this is being derived or established with our Newired editor. So I click edit, and let's imagine that we don't have our link here. So as you know, this is the place how I can start creating the journey links. I click on the journey links and I want to link the second journey, how to create an account. But now with the new version, I can also select which step I want to launch. So I want to launch directly the step number 2. Let's click on create, and we can provide a custom description. Try to create a new account. Save it. We create this one, we save it. Now when we have this tip directly starts the journey from a step 2. Again, this is a very basic example. I believe that we can find many additional use cases, or you can find many additional use cases by yourself to move from one step to the last step, give people a choice where to go, or some customers have very long journeys, and this gives them the ability to implement so-called chapters that you can really let the user to decide. I mean, that they can start from chapter 2 or chapter 3 if they have a very long onboarding process. Even though, just to remind you, the best practice that we, let's see, recommend to our customers is to keep the journeys short and simple. So if you really have a complex onboarding procedures, I remind everyone who has not, let's say, fully leveraged the so-called playbooks to think about that the big journey, the big long onboarding guide can be broken into several journeys, and you can combine them into the so-called playbook. So we see here that we have the getting started playbook that actually correspond of a couple of the journeys. What we see here is that we have the playbooks in a top right corner as a primary, let's say, artifact. So here I see that I can launch the editor, and I see that my getting starting playbook is being set up based on these couple of the journeys. So how to log in, CRM overview. I can easily just drag and drop the journeys from or outside of the playbook. So the journey links may be used if you have the long journeys to navigate to a different chapters, but still we recommend as a best practice to consider playbooks instead of that. Another point, and this is actually the last big one that I want to speak about today, is our commitment for the so-called accessibility requirements. You know, there are many users that may struggle with operating the applications or use our Newired interface with the mouse, or they really have some severe disabilities, and we commit to actually enable the easy navigation and to be compliant with the latest accessibility guidance or accessibility standards within our solution. So what I want to show you are the first set of improvements that we are actually implementing in our solution to support, I mean, people with limited access to the controls like a mouse or even keyboard, which I mean means that you have the alternative options to navigate the screen. We also believe that these set of improvements are not useful only for people with some disabilities, but we also believe that this actually improves the user experience for everyone. And I must say that after using the product for a while, after the launch in July, there are some of the features I personally love by myself. And the one that I want to highlight is really the keyboard navigation. So I go to the back to the Chrome browser, and I must remind you that I perform some settings. Okay, so if you go to the Google Chrome settings, let's go there, and we type here accessibility. There's one setting which is quite important, and this is show a quick highlight on the focused object. What does it actually mean is that with this setting, you are reminded where the focus in your application actually is. What does it ensure? So let's start our journey, let's see, from the beginning. So let's start the CRM overview. You see there was this blue background around this next button. So if I click on it, you see there is this blue button or blue border that appears there for a few seconds. That's what Chrome calls this highlight, to highlight a focused object. I'll show it again. I click back, and you see that there is this blue border. If I hit Tab key, you see that the same border appears next to the cross symbol. If I click Shift Tab, you see my cursor is back here on the next tab. Again, Tab key, I'm here. Shift Tab, I'm here. I click Enter, and it immediately gives me the focus on this next button. I hit enter again and I get to the next page. So just if I have the simple journey with the next buttons, all what I need to do is just hit enter over and over again. And honestly, this itself is great, but we did not stop here. We went one step farther. Let's open another journey. This is the journey how to create an account. So we start with the first one. We see that the focus is here. If I click tab, the focus is on cross. So if I hit enter, the journey stops. Okay, this is the same that I was showing you before. So let's not close it. So I hit next. Now you see the focus was on the second button here. There is no next button there. So the focus is here on the cross. But if I hit a tab key, and I would made a mistake. Give me 1 second. Next tab. Oops. I will show it again. So give me, because it was a little bit tricky. So next create. Now, so if I hit shift tab, you see that the focus is here on the cross. Now it's more visible because there was a problem with the highlight. So now if I hit the tab key, you see that this create account is being highlighted. So what we are actually doing, we are with the tab key, we navigate from the bubble to the element where this is being where the pointer points. So what it means is that if I am on here and I hit the tab key, I can hit enter and it actually triggers the procedure of filling the actual or clicking on this create button. So what it means, I can now fill in the table. I can get actually there now again the same. If I have a bubble that points to a particular place on the screen, I can with a tab key get to the element to which my bubble points to. So when I hit enter, the form is automatically submitted. So what we are doing here is that we are really focusing on the so-called keyboard navigation, but not just, we don't focus only on the keyboard navigation in our layer, but if your target application is designed to be controlled by the keyboard, we can actually merge into your flow and make sure that when the guide is being set up, the tab key correctly navigates to the right element that is highlighted on the screen. And this is really a great help for people that really need to let's say operate the website with let's say limited controls, for example, with more of a keyboard and less with a mouse. Of course, what it also means that with this function, we can use it for everything that I was presenting so far. So if we go and we launch this overview journey, we see that with a shift tab, I can go to this back key. So here you can see that I can actually go also back to the previous step. So we see that everything what we do, we now keep aligned with this keyboard navigation, which also means that even if there is a journey link, you can navigate through the journey link via the keyboard, and everything is designed for the keyboard navigation from now on because of our commitment for the future. So let me recap what has been delivered in our release 22.2. First, the journey slideshow. The journey slideshows are designed to actually check the instructions without actually running through a step-by-step guide. So instead of really being guided, I can just open on the screen in the form of the slideshow, let's see the guide, and I can quickly be reminded on what I should do in the next steps. The back button, let the users to go one step back. It's simple, but just a reminder, it's not always there. You need to control, or you need to tell Newired if the back button should or should not be enabled. The step actions are there to automatically open a link or run a script. This is a great feature when you need to build product tours where you don't want to train the people where to click, but you just want to showcase all the different capabilities in your application. The journey links now allows you to start a journey on a specific step. Great feature. I mean, if you want to start a journey from a tip, or if you want to move a couple of steps forward and implement the links to go or to take a shortcut to a specific step in the journey. And the keyboard navigation and actually also the screen reader support, I forget to mention that. We also improved our generated code. So the instructions that are visible on the screen now can be also better consumed by the screen reader and presented to the actual users. That's what we have prepared for today, and I hope that there will be some open questions. So I'll stop or I will go to the GoToWebinar panel, and I will check if you have any questions. Where is it? There's a question. Is the back button setting a blanket setting or just a per step basis or both? This is really something that needs to be considered step by step. So what it means is that that if you go through this journey that we have seen here, the overview journey, I mean, if I go here, now it's possible to go back because I'm still on the same page, I can show it. But if I, for example, would be saving a specific page, or in this case, I roll it back, it would be difficult. For example, now I can click back because it tells me, hey, the sales section show this. But for example, if you would navigate now from here to back to home, if I click next here, it might happen that I cannot go back from one page to the other. So the setting to enable the back button is the one specific to each step, because we really want you to check by yourself, is the back button available or not, or is it reliable to put a back button there? It cannot be checked automatically by the system. It must be a human, the instructional designer, who really consider whether this makes or makes no sense to go back, to go one step back. Does the accessibility option work on all browsers? A good question, and yes, it does. So the accessibility options work on each browser. What you don't see here is the visibility of what is the selected element. What you can do if the accessibility is really an important topic for you, you can also deploy a custom theme for Newired, which will not be depending on the actual setting of your browser. So what I did, I used the standard theme without any modification. I let the browser to highlight what is the focused element. But you can ensure the similar setting with a custom Newired theme. So each and everyone, not depending on the setting of the browser, will see, let's say, some border or some special style connected with the highlighted element. But of course, this will apply to our content only. What is great about the setting on the Chrome level or Firefox, you see that it applies everywhere, not just for our content, but also for the content in the target application. Let me ask some more question. When is the slideshow generated? The slideshow is based on the functionality that we had in our editor for a long time. What it means is that whenever so let's go and create a simple journey, okay? I will create a simple journey called test. And let's start with the first dialog. This is our new journey. I click confirm changes, and I will have my first step that people should click here on the create button. And the second step should be that, or third step should be that they click here on the create account. So I click here, create account, click create account. So what we see here is that I've just created a journey in the as usual. What we have in Newired for a while is that we actually automatically take a screenshot when using the editor. What the value actually is that I can run the same slideshow also in my editor. This really helps with, for example, when I have a journey with many different steps, just to really quickly select the step I need. If this is too small, I just expand it. I can check that, and I can actually go to a step, so run the step from this particular position. So we had this feature that when I create a journey, it automatically takes these screenshots. What it also means is that when I actually have this little journey, and I have here, this is our new journey, if I modify it, when I change it, anytime I change it, anytime I do anything, I add some text, the screenshot is taken automatically. So if you expand it, we see that there is this changes. So the screenshots are updated. These screenshots are being used here in the editor, but as you know, we also have, as part of our portal, we have the capabilities that we can actually download another package, sorry. I can export it to Microsoft Word, and this document will actually contain all these screenshots as well. And what we do now, we can offer you an option to actually show the preview, so show this slideshow directly here also for the end users. For those who believe that this is, let's say, something risky, that you don't want to share the screenshots of your target application, whatever, this feature can be disabled. So you can fully disable taking let's see, the screenshots automatically, and this feature is optional. And also what it actually means, I was not testing it, but if I take the address and I open it in the new window, actually I was logged out here, so it's not implemented here, but you can set up the system so this screenshot will not be visible unless you are, let's say, unless it is loaded from the slideshow. So we can also provide a highly secure schema. For existing customers, if you want to set up the slideshow on your system, let us know. We can enable it on your system in a highly, let's say, secure environment. So the screenshots will not be it will not be possible just to copy the URL and send it to someone else. This can be prevented. Let me go back to the panel if there are more questions. Yeah, oh, I don't see the panel. Here is the control panel. Will there be an upgrade of the selection? Sometimes the selected item doesn't point to the right place. We are continuously making our algorithm that actually connects connects the bubbles with the elements better and better with every release. With this release, we actually even implement a so-called customization. So what it means is that if you have the so-called selector precision dialog, this shows let's see, all the different criterias that are being leveraged to recognize a particular element on the screen. With the new version, you can actually deploy your own custom rules specific for a dedicated applications. In general, we receive wonderful comments to our algorithms. I mean, compared to the competitors, we have clients who were using the competing solutions in the past. They let's say start using Newired, and they say that this is miles away from any competing solution. Of course, you are saying that you struggle with yours. I would really recommend to describe when exactly your the default algorithm is actually failing. And just I would like to remind everyone on a couple of the principles, because the customer here is saying that it points to the wrong direction. Because what can happen, there are actually two options that may happen. One option is that the bubble, the call out, will not show at all, which means that let me test it here. Okay, so we have here I will show here into our journey how to create an account. No, into the overview. Let me remember this URL. Let me go here. I take some link. Now I run this journey. Next. Okay, back. Okay, how I do it. Here I'm here, and if it should fail. Okay, so here the journey cannot continue. So the journey may fail because we are not able to recognize a particular element on the screen. So what I was trying to say, there are only two cases. Either we cannot find the place where to point. Okay, so there is one option is that we started that we cannot find the right place, or that the bubble points to a wrong place. And here there is really very simple best practice. If the element cannot be found on the screen, so if the journey fails, that we are not able to recognize the element on the screen, it doesn't help if you select more options. This makes everything worse. So if you cannot find the element on the screen, the only thing that what helps is that you uncheck everything, because you need to soften the criteria. In case there is another element which is actually recognized, let's say wrongly, that something else is selected, then you need to strengthen the criteria and you select more. So never ever select more options if the element is not recognized on the screen. You need to soften it. If it finds a wrong element, it doesn't make sense to uncheck something. You need to only check something more. But now the customer is saying, okay, but I want to avoid using the element precision dialog. And it's definitely something that we are committed to improve with every release. And we do, even now with the better profiles for target applications. If it happens that for a specific app, you believe that our algorithms are not perfect, describe the procedure, which app and what is not working well, and we have a full commitment that in the next release we will make it better. Let's go to the panel if there are more questions. Actually, let me go to the chat. Do you support Safari? Yeah, I mean, you see that I'm on my Apple computer. Yes, of course, you can run the same journeys also in the Safari browser, so I can run it. The great thing today is actually that most of the browsers, which means Safari, Chrome, and also Microsoft Edge, are sharing the same engine. So what it means is that it's really reliable to use our editor to create the journeys, and because it's the same engine, it works transparently for Safari, Chrome, and Microsoft Edge. The only different browser is now the Firefox, but this is very compatible against the standards. So we have seen no problems with journeys being running on Firefox, even though I mean in the last months and years, the Firefox is not the most popular browser. It really goes towards Chrome, Edge, or Safari on the Apple. But yes, we do support also Safari, and we do support Firefox, and we don't see any issues with the cross-browser support over the last couple of months. This is what we prepared for you for today. Thank you for your interest. Thank you for all your questions. The webinar has been recorded. You will receive the recording in upcoming days. You can share it with your colleagues. If there is anything that pops into your mind that you forget to ask, drop us an email and we will definitely answer it by email or set up a one-on-one call. Have a great day. Thank you.